Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture. Doing something a little bit different, which seems to be how I start most of my videos these days. I am going to start by making what we call a masterboard. Now, typically in mixed media, when you're making a masterboard, it's going to be some type of collage. Now, that could mean that you're going to stamp and maybe put some ink through a stencil or paste, or add some type of book pages or some type of fabric or any number of things, right? So it really depends on the creator and what they're doing. Today, I am stamping mostly in red rubber with clear embossing ink, and I'm using clear embossing powder. So I have a variety of different background stamps from Whimsy today. Now on screen, I showed several different products to include distressed background and ink splats, mixed media bits. Now both of those are clear, but I also have the Lots of Dots background, which you saw me using there. I have Galaxy Galore. I have the Vintage Script and the Cosmic Swirl. And I am literally just stamping willy-nilly all over the place, trusting that that Versamark ink is going to stay wet for a long time. And of course, it's clear on white, so you don't really see unless you tip your paper in the light. And I really didn't pay attention. It really didn't matter to me. I wanted it to be willy-nilly and everywhere. So I'm actually now to the point where I'm adding the embossing powder. I have 3 different containers of clear embossing powders that I'm trying to use up, and I'm successful at finishing up 2 of them and part of the 3rd. So it takes some persistence, but I finally get it all covered with embossing powder, and it does not matter to me which of the 3 brands covered which area. I just wanted to get it covered. I do have to say, as I'm hitting it with the heat tool and heating the whole thing, this part takes quite a while because this masterboard that I'm creating is essentially an entire 9 by 12 sheet of watercolor card. It's 140 pounds and it's a lot. It's really heavy, but I think that if I had used white instead of clear, it wouldn't have changed anything about the heat embossing time. However, the contrast would have been a little sharper, I guess, and that will make sense once I start applying color to the paper, which happens here in just a minute. So I did all of that heat embossing. You can see the texture and the pattern there. It's very subtle, obviously, it's tone on tone, but then I spray the whole thing down with my water mister, and I start by just kind of squeezing out with the dauber just a little bit of the pigment. It is aqua pigment from Brutus Monroe. I've had these for years and they've just been sitting in my drawer. Decided to pull them out and put them to use. So the 2 pinks that I have are Dahlia and Hollyhock. I have another one that's called Rose or Rosé, and it has lost its pink pigment. So anyway, several of them have lost their pigment. I thought it was only the oranges and the yellows, but no, the pinks too. Just kind of laying them out. I use the paintbrush and the water mister to obviously make them more liquid, and then to spread them out a little bit, kind of mix them and merge them. I was hoping that they would do that kind of organically, and they really didn't. But I just keep going at it, and then I bring in, I have a green, I have a light green, creamy pigment, and then I have a aqua pigment creamy teal, and that is black, but you can see that it turned blue. That's why I kind of shrugged my hands there like, what? I don't know. Again, it lost its pigment because it certainly is not black. So then I hit it all with the heat tool, dried it up, and I like that it has now some differences in tone. So you have some darker greens, some lighter greens, same with the teals and the pinks. And here's where I'm taking a clean cloth and wiping off all of the heat embossed areas so you get that emboss resist, right? But that's where I'm saying if I had used white instead of cream, I'd have had a greater contrast, because it would be the white embossing powder versus the cream of the cardstock underneath, or the watercolor card, because we all know watercolor card isn't vibrant white, it's more of a creamy color. So anyway, it is what it is. I love it. I think it's very striking. It's very fun. And yeah, you know, so it's not your typical masterboard in terms of like using a bunch of different collage, but in a sense I collaged with all the different stamping and heat embossing. So it still has that masterboard feel to it. And I created a big one, and then you cut it down and you use it up how you need. So that is my masterboard for today. And then of course you can see that I have stamped out these fun flamingo summer images, and coloring them up with my Olo markers. And then I stamp out a bunch of the different foliage and the flowers because I will be using them to add some more character and interest. And yeah, they're just really pretty, and they color up quite easily. So I use the coordinating dies to die cut them out. Now the dies and the stamps are sold separately. And I also stamped out the sentiment. There are 3 different sentiments. And yeah, got everything die cut out. And so I used some of this pearl pigment to paint on the flowers as well as the beaks on each of the flamingos. But then I decided that I wanted some more pops of color on this. And so I just squirted out some of the pigment from the green, and then I used the teal and the pink as well. I wanted some black on there, so I'm using my Posca pen to do that. And then I actually used some white acrylic paint as well because my white Posca pen was empty and I did not know. So y'all tell me, did I go too crazy with the splatters? When you look at it overall, it kind of looks crazy, but then when you start breaking it down, like I was auditioning the background, if you will, with the die, so I could see what would be inside each of the bookmark tags. But here it is up close. I think it's so interesting. And yes, you can see all that splatter. You can see all the different stamps, the details of the cosmic swirl. You've got the circles, you've got the crosshatch, you've got the words and the stars. And it's just so unique and so interesting. And again, if I had used white, all of those details would be in white versus the cream of the watercolor card. I keep wanting to call it cardstock. But I think it's fun. It's different. It's interesting. It's not something you see everyone doing, and especially using the liquid watercolor pigments. Yep. So here again, I'm auditioning with the bookmark tag die, and I come to a place where I find that I really like it, and I just went ahead and cut out 2 others. So now I have 3 bookmarks. And you can see there in the top left, I actually used the frame labels dies to cut out just basically a white panel for each of the flamingos to sit on, because I'm still going back and forth as to whether or not I just want the flamingo or if I want the flamingo on a panel, because the panel gives the eye a place to rest. And I've talked about that kind of thing before, especially if you have something really busy like these backgrounds, your eye needs a place to rest. Otherwise, it can just be visual chaos. And so I want it to be visual interest, but I don't want it to be visual chaos. So if you give your eye a place to land, a place to rest for a moment, then it can go back and check out the details. So ultimately, that is why I went with those white panels. And I think also with that, it makes it interesting because not only does it give the eye a place to rest, but it also allows your images to be prominent and to pop off the page. So lots of different, I don't know, it serves lots of different needs or purposes, if you will. And then I found these reinforcers in my stash. So I just glued them down, and then I used the dots and the hole punch to create reinforcers for the smaller tags. And I wanted just a little bit more contrast, so I'm adding the black. Not only did I stamp everything in black, and then I added the reinforcers in black, and I used the black for the splatter in the background, but then I went around my edges. And I liked the idea, but I did not like the way the Posca pen works. So I pulled out my Olo, and it makes a bit of a thicker black line, but I think it's more prominent, and I think it is very effective. I like the way that looks. So I add each of the flamingos down to their panel, and I use that double-sided foam tape. The foam tape is from Whimsy's store, so you can check that out there if you are interested. I use a lot of double-sided foam tape, And I'm, of course, using my Barely Art glue, which is that is my most used glue. And of course, that's in the Whimsy store as well. And you know, I link to everything. And I've used a lot of different products today, y'all. Yeah, and of course, those will be linked and listed downstairs in the description box. So if you want to do any shopping, feel free to use those links. Go check things out. If you have any questions or if I missed anything, please let me know. I am human, so sometimes sometimes not only are words hard, but other things can be hard too. So yeah, just let me know if you have any questions. And then here is where I'm using the beautiful foliage and the pretty flowers and just building up these little scenes, adding some drama, if you will, to the little panels. And I think they're very cute. Most of the foliage gets glued down straight to the tag, but on the florals, some of them get lifted up on double-sided foam tape. And again, I almost always use my wet glue to add, just give myself that wiggle room, because it's almost for certain if I don't give myself wiggle room, that's when I need it. That's when I need it. So I think these are fun. I think they're interesting. And I just want to say, so I am a single mom. The dads in the lives of my children have been absent pretty much all their lives. So I have played the role of mom and dad for the better part of 40 years. So I just want to say that these tags really, they're for Father's Day. They're Father's Day flamingos in my book, but they're for the moms who have had to play mom and dad. And I know that there are a bunch of dads who have to play mom as well, and I do believe that they should be honored on Mother's Day as well. And there are other people who play those roles who aren't either, right? So if you are playing the role of a father, then I applaud you. If you are playing the role of a mother, I applaud you. And, you know, I just want to say that you do look totally flamazing. I don't care if your hair's in a messy bun, if you've had to cut it off, if it's unwashed, you look totally flamazing. And you were born to stand out. Look at what you're doing. Look at how important you are in the lives of the kids that you're taking care of. So important. And keep in mind that you are still standing. You have survived all of your worst days. Whether you're in a parental role or not, you are still standing, and I am proud of you. So these bookmark tags, these Father's Day flamingos, are for all of us. And we are all amazing, and we all are born to stand out, and we are all still standing. We have survived all of our worst days, and we will continue. And with that, I hope that today was a lovely day and that tomorrow is even better. But know that you have within you whatever you need to face every challenge that comes your way. So guys, I thank you for spending time with me. Go ahead and hit that subscribe, the like, drop me a comment downstairs, and until next time, mwah, I'm out.